Sometimes the most unexpected arrangements lead to the most beautiful outcomes. Emma's voice was soft as she looked into the camera, her hand resting on Noah's. 3 years ago, I was desperate for a fake husband to save my inheritance. Today, I have a real family I never knew I wanted. She smiled as a young boy ran into frame, Noah lifting him effortlessly onto his lap. If you're struggling to believe that life can change in an instant, stay with us. Our story might just give you the hope you need. If you're new here, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. Your support helps us share more stories about finding love in the most unexpected places. Emma Taylor stared at the email on her phone, her coffee growing cold beside her laptop. The words blurred as tears threatened to spill over. Dear Ms. Taylor. As per the terms of your grandmother's will, we must remind you that to receive your inheritance, you must be married by your 30th birthday. As that date is now only 2 days away, please provide documentation of your marital status by 5 p.m. on April 15 th. Sincerely. Walter Simmons, attorney at law. Emma set her phone down with shaking hands. Her grandmother's ridiculous stipulation, the one Emma had dismissed as an old-fashioned joke when the will was read 2 years ago, was now a ticking time bomb. Marry by 30 or lose everything, including the seed money for the community art center she'd been planning for the past year. At 29 years and 363 days old, Emma was about to lose her inheritance to her cousin Richard, who would undoubtedly use the money to expand his already successful real estate business rather than honor their grandmother's wish to support the arts in their small town of Mapleton. "Problem with your coffee?" asked a deep voice, startling Emma from her thoughts. She looked up to see Noah Bennett, the owner of the Daily Grind, the coffee shop where she'd spent most mornings for the past 6 months working on her business plan. Noah was wiping down the neighboring table, his dark hair slightly rumpled, his blue eyes concerned. "No, the coffee's perfect as always," Emma said, forcing a smile. "Just some unexpected news." Noah nodded, not prying further. That was one of the things Emma appreciated about him, he was attentive without being intrusive. In the months she'd been coming to his coffee shop, they'd developed a friendly rapport, exchanging pleasantries and occasional book recommendations, but never venturing into personal territory. She knew he was a single father to a 6-year-old boy named Max, whom she occasionally saw on weekends when school was out. She knew he made the best cinnamon scones in town and always remembered her order, large vanilla latte, extra hot. But beyond that, Noah Bennett remained something of a mystery. "Let me know if you need a refill," he said, moving to the next table. Emma watched him go, an impossible idea taking shape in her mind. She needed a husband by tomorrow. Not a real one, necessarily, just someone who could convincingly play the part long enough to satisfy her grandmother's lawyers. Someone trustworthy, someone kind. Someone like Noah. Before she could talk herself out of it, Emma gathered her courage and approached the counter where Noah was now arranging pastries in the display case. "Noah," she began, her voice steadier than she felt, "this is going to sound completely insane, but I need to ask you something." He straightened, giving her his full attention. "Okay. I need a husband by tomorrow," she blurted out. "Just temporarily. On paper." Noah's eyebrows shot up, but to his credit, he didn't immediately call for security. "That's not what I was expecting," he said carefully. Emma took a deep breath and explained her situation, her grandmother's will, the inheritance that would fund the art center, the looming deadline. "I know this is absolutely crazy," she finished. "But I'm desperate. It would just be a marriage certificate, nothing real. We could get it annulled right after the lawyers verify it. I'd pay you, of course." Noah was quiet for a long moment, studying her with those thoughtful blue eyes. Then he said something that caught her completely off guard. "So you'll live at my place?" Emma blinked. "What?" "If we're going to convince anyone this is real, you can't just have a piece of paper," Noah said pragmatically. "Your grandmother's lawyers might check." We'd need to at least appear to be living together. I hadn't thought that far ahead, Emma admitted. Noah leaned against the counter. Look, Emma, I'm not saying yes yet. But if I were to consider this, we'd need to do it right. My son Max would be involved, and I need to protect him. He's already lost his mother, I can't have him getting attached to someone who's just passing through. The mention of Max sobered Emma. She hadn't considered how her scheme might affect a child. You're right, she said. I wasn't thinking clearly. This was a bad idea. I'm sorry to have bothered you. She turned to leave, embarrassment heating her cheeks, when Noah's voice stopped her. I didn't say no. Emma looked back, hope flickering despite herself. My shift ends at 3, Noah continued. Come back then, and we'll talk about what this would actually look like. If, and it's a big if, we decide to do this, we need clear boundaries and expectations. Thank you, Emma said, relief washing over her. I'll be back at 3. As she gathered her things and left the coffee shop, Emma wondered what she'd just set in motion. A fake marriage to a man she barely knew, potentially living in his home, meeting his child, it was madness. But as the alternative was watching her grandmother's legacy and her own dreams slip away, Emma decided that sometimes, madness was the only sensible option. Noah watched Emma leave, wondering if he'd lost his mind. Had he really just semi-agreed to consider a fake marriage? With a customer he knew only through brief morning interactions? Dad, the muffins are burning. Noah turned to see his son Max standing on a step stool behind the counter, pointing anxiously at the kitchen. Thanks, buddy, Noah said, rushing to rescue the blueberry muffins from the oven. They were salvageable, just a little darker than usual. Max adjusted his glasses, peering at the tray. They look like meteorites, he declared with the honesty only a 6-year-old could deliver. Meteorites are cool, Noah countered, ruffling his son's dark hair, so similar to his own. And these will taste better than space rocks, I promise. As he transferred the muffins to a cooling rack, Noah considered what had just happened with Emma. He wasn't normally impulsive, raising Max alone had made him cautious, methodical. Every decision was weighed for how it would affect his son. So why hadn't he immediately refused Emma's bizarre proposal? Perhaps it was the desperation in her eyes, so at odds with her usual composed demeanor. Or maybe it was curiosity about the woman who'd been a fixture in his coffee shop for months, always polite but somehow distant, as if holding part of herself in reserve. Or maybe, a small voice whispered, it was because in the 2 years since Leah's death, Noah had been so focused on being Max's father that he'd forgotten how to be anything else. And something about Emma's presence in his shop each morning had become a bright spot he looked forward to more than he cared to admit. Dad, can I have a meteorite muffin? Max asked, interrupting his thoughts. After lunch, Noah promised. Speaking of which, it's time for your sandwich. As he prepared Max's lunch, peanut butter and banana, cut into dinosaur shapes with a cookie cutter, Noah tried to imagine Emma in their small apartment above the coffee shop. Would she fit into their carefully constructed routine? Would Max understand the arrangement, or would it confuse him? And what would happen when it ended? Because it would end. Emma had made that clear. This was a business arrangement, nothing more. Noah placed the plate in front of Max, who was now drawing elaborate spaceships on his placemat. Max, he said carefully, how would you feel if we had a guest stay with us for a little while? Max looked up, interest piqued. Like Grandma? No, not Grandma. A friend. Someone you don't know very well yet. Max considered this, taking a bite of his sandwich. Would they play Legos with me? Noah smiled. I don't know. Maybe. Do they like space? I'm not sure about that either. Max nodded sagely. You should ask them. It's important. I'll do that, Noah promised, wondering what other questions he should be asking Emma. Did she snore? Was she allergic to their cat, Rocket? Did she hog the bathroom in the morning? These were not things you typically needed to know about a coffee shop regular. But they were definitely things you should know about a wife, even a temporary one. As the afternoon rush began and Noah got busy with customers, he pushed aside his concerns. At 3 o'clock, he'd talk to Emma, lay out his conditions, and most likely, she'd realize this plan was too complicated and walk away. Problem solved. Except a small, unexpected part of him hoped she wouldn't. Emma spent the hours before her meeting with Noah alternating between hope and panic. She'd called the courthouse and confirmed they could get a marriage license and perform the ceremony the same day, an expedited service that cost extra but was possible. She'd drafted a contract outlining the temporary nature of their arrangement and the financial compensation she was offering. She'd even packed an overnight bag, just in case. But as 3 o'clock approached, doubt crept in. Was she really going to marry a man she barely knew? Live in his home? Meet his child? All to secure an inheritance? Her grandmother's face floated in her memory, stern but kind, traditional but supportive of Emma's dreams. Eleanor Taylor had been a pillar of the Mapleton community, a patron of the arts, and a firm believer in family values. She'd also been stubborn as a mule. Marriage settles a person, she'd told Emma countless times. Gives them roots, purpose beyond themselves. Emma had always dismissed this as outdated thinking. Her purpose was her art, her community work. She didn't need marriage to give her life meaning. But as she stood outside the daily grind at precisely 3 o'clock, Emma wondered if her grandmother had been trying to tell her something else, that sharing your life with someone, building something together, could expand your purpose rather than limit it. The thought was still forming as she pushed open the door to find Noah waiting, the coffee shop now closed for the afternoon break between lunch and dinner service. "You came back," he said, sounding slightly surprised. "I said I would," Emma replied, clutching her bag. "Did you think I'd change my mind?" "Honestly?" "Yes." Noah gestured to a table in the corner, away from the windows. "I thought you'd realize this plan is completely crazy and find another solution." Emma sat down, placing her bag beside her. "Trust me, if there was another solution, I'd take it. But the lawyers are firm, married by my 30th birthday or the money goes to Richard." "Tell me about this art center," Noah said, surprising her. "What's your vision?" The question caught Emma off guard. Most people's eyes glazed over when she talked about her passion project. "Mapleton has so much creative talent but nowhere for it to flourish," she explained, warming to the subject. "I want to create a space where children and adults can take classes, where local artists can exhibit their work, where the community can gather for cultural events. My grandmother understood the importance of this, it's why she left me the money specifically for an arts initiative." "And your cousin Richard doesn't share this vision?" Emma shook her head. "Richard thinks art is a waste of time unless it appreciates in value. He'd use the money to build more luxury condos." Noah nodded thoughtfully. "Okay, I understand the stakes. Now let's talk logistics. If, and it's still a big if, we do this, here are my conditions." He laid out his terms clearly. Emma would need to live at his place for at least a month to establish the appearance of a real marriage. She would need to be honest with Max about their arrangement, in age-appropriate terms. Their marriage would remain platonic. And when it ended, they would transition carefully to minimize disruption to Max's life. "These aren't negotiable," Noah finished. "Max comes first in every decision." Emma respected his priorities. "I agree to all of those conditions. And I have some terms of my own." She explained her financial offer, a generous sum that made Noah's eyebrows rise, and her need for the arrangement to remain confidential. The fewer people who knew the truth, the better. "I've drafted a contract," she said, pulling papers from her bag. "It outlines everything we've discussed, plus the agreement that we'll seek an annulment after the inheritance is secured." Noah took the contract, scanning it with a thoroughness that surprised her. "You've thought this through." I try to be prepared, Emma said. Even for completely unexpected situations like marrying a coffee shop owner I barely know. A smile tugged at Noah's lips. Speaking of barely knowing each other, don't you think we should fix that before we get married? 20 questions? Speed dating? Your favorite color, at least? Emma found herself smiling back. Blue. Yours? Green. See? We're practically soulmates already. His teasing tone lightened the tension, and Emma felt herself relax slightly. In all seriousness, you're right. We should know more about each other if we're going to be convincing. Well, you know I'm a single dad who owns a coffee shop. Max is 6, loves space, Legos, and our cat Rocket. I've lived in Mapleton my whole life except for college. I was married to Leah for 7 years before she died of complications from pneumonia 2 years ago. Noah delivered these facts matter-of-factly, but Emma caught the slight tightening around his eyes when he mentioned his late wife. I'm sorry about Leah, she said softly. Noah nodded in acknowledgement. Your turn. Emma took a deep breath. I grew up here but left for art school in Chicago. Came back when my grandmother got sick 3 years ago. I've been teaching art at the community center part-time while developing the business plan for the art center. No previous marriages, no children, no pets. My parents live in Arizona now, semi-retired and traveling in an RV most of the year. Siblings? One brother, James. He's in Seattle with his wife and kids. Noah seemed to be mentally filing away these details. Allergies? Medical conditions I should know about? Seasonal allergies, but nothing serious. You? Max has a mild peanut allergy, he can have peanut butter but not straight peanuts. I'm allergic to most antibiotics in the penicillin family. Noah paused. Morning person or night owl? Definitely night owl, Emma admitted. You? Morning person by necessity, not by choice. The coffee shop opens at 6. They continued this exchange, covering basics like food preferences. Emma was vegetarian, Noah was not, sleep habits, Noah snored only when really tired, according to Max, and household quirks. Emma was neat but not obsessive, Noah was organized but had blind spots, particularly regarding laundry. As they talked, Emma found herself genuinely interested in Noah's answers. He was thoughtful, often funny, and refreshingly direct. In another context, this might have been an enjoyable first date rather than a business negotiation. Finally, Noah glanced at his watch. It's almost time to pick up Max from his after-school program. If we're doing this, we need to decide now. Emma took a deep breath. I'm in if you are. Noah studied her for a long moment, then nodded. Okay. Let's get married tomorrow. The words hung in the air between them, surreal and weighty despite the circumstances. There's one more thing, Noah added. If we're going to be convincing, we should probably know how to act like a couple. May I? Before Emma could ask what he meant, Noah leaned across the table and took her hand in his. His touch was warm, his fingers calloused from years of work. If we're married, I'd hold your hand like this, he said quietly. Is that okay? Emma nodded, surprised by how natural it felt. Yes, that's okay. And I might touch your shoulder, or your back, when we're walking together or standing near each other. That makes sense, Emma agreed, her voice slightly unsteady. And if necessary, only if necessary to be convincing, a kiss would be brief, like this. Noah leaned forward and pressed his lips to her cheek, a touch so light and quick that Emma barely had time to register the warmth of his breath before he pulled away. Just so we're prepared, he said, releasing her hand. No surprises. Emma nodded, ignoring the unexpected flutter in her stomach. This was business, not romance. The fact that Noah Bennett was considerate enough to establish boundaries in advance.